Hey guys, welcome to another episode of No Mama Grow Mama. This is the place where we talk about all things related to health and wellness for you and your family, which is literally every single topic under the sun. Everything relates back to our health, mental health, physical health, well-being, overall wellness. So today's episode is going to be a little bit different. We are momming it today. I have Victoria here who's going to be chatting with me a little bit about a very timely topic for all of us. And that topic is getting into routine and, for lack of a better word, like order during chaotic times like these, right? So this episode is happening during the middle of the pandemic. And I know that all of you, just like all of us, are doing well some days and not doing well other days, right? Am I right, Victoria? Some days,
Absolutely.
oh, I got this, I am momming hard, and then other days it's like, I'm done.
And you can waver between those feelings like at least 27 times in a day. If you want my real opinion on it, it's not even a day by day. I stopped taking things day by day like 2 weeks ago. I'm taking it 15-minute increments.
Right. And it's funny because Victoria and I, before we started the interview, were just like checking in with each other. How's it going? How's life going or not going? Like, what's the deal? How's it all kind of playing out? And it's one of those things that our expectations of ourselves and of our kids don't necessarily meet.
No.
What happens in
there was just this shift where those expectations that you had, yes, of yourself and of your kids and of your family dynamic is changed. It's completely different. And everybody's interpretation of that change is going to be completely different. And I think hopefully I'm sure we will touch on just like a lot of the you need to do you mentality, which there's a lot, we'll talk about this, but I feel like there's just so much circulating about over preparedness in the scheduling aspect of being home with your kids and how that takes an effect on, me as a mom and our family dynamic. But what a change.
Wow. Like when this all first happened, I was like, I've got this. Like, I am going to win the momming award for this because I've been doing this for years. Like, this is already in my tool belt. Yeah. As a mom who's run a busy business for, I'm not going to sit here and count how many years now. I don't know, over 10, 12, 15. I don't know what it is now. I got this. Like, my oldest is almost 15. I've been working this on the daily since she was, because I needed to be able to have my kids with me and do a business. So I know how to do this.
Right.
I got to do this. I got this. I'm going to win. I'm going to win and I'm going to beat everybody because this is what I do every day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm winning, first of all. If you're thinking you're not, there's no winning. There is no winning. There's no award. Nobody's made a trophy for me that I'm not now going to receive.
Yes.
But I think when all this started, I was very overconfident on how successfully this is going to play out. And also I have those kids that are like, love school.
Yeah.
Love going to school. Mine love the routine every day. And I am thankful for that because I know lots of families don't do that.
Right. Where there was almost there was almost like a weight of tension lifted off some families. Oh, I don't have to have the school fight every morning. This is incredible. Like, okay, yes, this is horrible. It's a pandemic, but also cool. We can stay in our PJs all day. Amazing. That's not how we roll either, personally, but I get that.
Yeah.
I get that vibe.
Yeah. But now it's a whole other challenge for those families because it's like you are in pajamas every day, and who the heck wants to sit down and do mathing?
Yes.
Pajamas, and there's like television to watch. Yeah, that's a whole other challenge.
And I think that was a challenge because I guess unless you start going through it, you don't really see the effects of the change in the routine on your kids. And I was mentioning this to you sort of before when we were just kind of like catching up. So I work a full-time out of the home job, and I was trying to do both. And I was like, yes, going to be fine. Everyone's going to be okay. You know, my husband's home, but he's also working full time in the home at his job. And that's challenging. So I started to almost immediately see the effects of just a huge shift in their routine and how that changed their personalities. And in two ways, my daughter, she's going to be 2 in a month, went from sleeping soundly for like 13 hours straight to waking up random times in the night. And you're like, why? What's changed? You know, we're home more. What's so different? My son, oh man, I'm going to try and say this without crying. My son just all of a sudden became overwhelmed with feelings and emotions that he could not process. He could not process. And it was coming out in verbal and physical aggression, not towards us, but, you know, throwing things in the room, screaming, crying, and unprompted. But I thought about that, and no, not unprompted, very prompted, extremely prompted, so prompted.
His world changed like that.
The world changed instantaneously. And so, and again, we talked about taking on those burdens as a mom. And I get that. And for that, taking on that challenge is so different from mom to mom. And for me, you know, being a fixer, I know, Jen, you associate with that. It's hard because you can't change how they process those anxieties or those fears.
Well, and that's such a big topic in itself, right? Not only do we have our kids who are, and Victoria and we're at the very different ends of the parenting perspective, right?
Yes.
My kids are pretty self-sufficient.
Right.
So getting them to do their schoolwork every day, I don't have to sit with them. So that's been a benefit for me.
Mm-hmm.
They understand more about the world. They understand more about the impact of what this means financially for families, what it means for their friends,
challenging conversations.
With not being able to connect with our church, our friends, and their friends' families.
Yes.
Growing apart during this time, they understand all of those things that are not necessarily a challenge that people with younger families. So yeah, taking on all those feelings, there's a lot of big feelings. As fixers, we take on our spouses.
Oh yeah.
The hesitation of, my gosh, like, will there get to be a point where I can't pay my mortgage? I don't really know. We don't really know. We all trust and, you know, have our beliefs in whatever it is that things will work out.
Right. And those financial conversations bring up their own other world of crap, you know, like these are conversations that are difficult to have in a good time in our lives, you know, like it's interesting. But I think what, you know, sort of what this is bringing us to is, yes, these are challenging times, but hopefully through our conversation and what we get to share with everyone is that there are ways that you can plan out your day that will work for you and will work for your family dynamic. To now we've established that clearly a change has happened, and it's going to affect little kids. It's going to affect older kids. It's going to affect you and your family, right? You know, parlaying with our grandparents if we have them, and our extended family, and just our friends who are our family, and how that all looks. But building that hopefully into a really nice routine, you know. I don't want
flipping the conversation. Like, have you guys kind of examine the benefits of flipping that conversation in your home? That yes, it's scary. Yes, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know when we're going to get to see grandma again. I don't know when we're going to get to go back again. I don't know when my oldest is going to get to come to the grocery store with me again, because that's like a me and daughter thing that we do together. Mm-hmm. They're all scary things, but here's also the thing. This is something magical, because this will never happen in your lifetime again. Probably will never happen in your child's lifetime. Mm-hmm. Right? In their own children's lifetime. It's not happened in my parents' generation, certainly. So there's also this conversation of being a part of history, being a part of the solution, using this time to figure out how we can do positive things within our own world.
And if you ever needed an excuse to have a blank page opened in your family's book, now is that time. And so that's, I think, one positive way that you can look at it. Things have to change. I mean, that is without question. Your dynamic, your routine, your schedule, the way that you relate to one another is going to have to change. So if you ever needed that blank page, now is that time to start that page in your family's book.
And really, this is probably the impetus for change that's going to naturally happen after this anyways. I personally think.
I hope so.
I think there's going to be a lot of employers who are like, wow, actually, our business can still run and you can work from home. Because a lot of employers were really against that, right? Well, when push comes to shove and you're forced to do it, change that dynamic for people going forward, that you can part-time and you can actually still get stuff done. So I think it's the impetus for great things to happen, especially for families who can kind of balance both of these things going forward. So now's the time. Now's the excuse to figure out how to make that work. So what are some things that you guys are doing at home to try to work within this new world? What is your day-to-day or week-to-week like?
Well, that's a two-parter for me. So when this all started and I was still trying to manage going into work and then just dealing with the storm of the kids just basically being parked on their iPads all day, that was a different vibe. But I think once we nailed down, and I think this shift may have happened for a lot of people, maybe it hasn't yet, but once you sort of come to terms with a long-term plan and not sort of taking things like, well, let's just see what happens tomorrow.
You might go back to school at the end of April, right?
Right. And that's the whole thing. For me, I settled with that feeling. Let's just take it day by day. Okay, today was a garbage day, but maybe tomorrow will be better. And I personally needed to go through that shift of thinking.
That's mega mental health.
Yes, I needed to be like, okay, let's go long-term here. Let's plan a month.
We ate popcorn all day yesterday and watched movies and played dominoes and we're still alive. It's okay.
Right, exactly. And that's the whole new page thing, right? Where if you just like, you have always that opportunity to say, okay, so that's what's happened. We've been on, like, what's the word I'm thinking of? Just like running.
Consistency?
Yeah, or inconsistently. Just like, okay, we've just been like doing whatever and that's happening. If you're ready to start that new blank page, the turning point for me in flipping to that blank page was saying, okay, let's get real here. We need a long-term plan. And so for me, thankfully, because of the opportunities that our government is employing for us in this time, I was able to take a leave of absence from my business and from my physical post at my work and say, I'm going to prioritize my kids. And I really hope that that is an option for many of you. I understand if it's not, but at the same time, you have to think about your own mental health in the long term. And again, you have to think long term here. So that was for me. That blank page was like, okay, long term, shift focus, shift my thinking. We need a long-term plan. And I know that my number one priority, because I know how it positively affects my mental health, is ensuring that my kids are on a routine. And that's what's worked for me. So making that decision, we were just flying by the seat of our pants. I think that's what I wanted to say earlier, by the way. Just doing whatever. I did change that a little bit. And I have a type A personality. I'll be the first person to admit that. OCD, nuts, whatever you want to call it. I'm that.
My kids call it extra.
I'm so extra. I am extra.
Too. I wear that badge so proudly.
I'm proud of my being extra. It's like
I'm the extra on top of the extra.
Right. So I made our routine very accessible and very simple. So all I made our routine or our schedule sort of whatever you want to call it, is just a series of events that happen at the same time in the same general, like with the same general subject matter, I guess, in each increment, right? So we have free time from 7:30 to 9:30 where the kids eat breakfast, we get ready. So it's not like 7:30 to 7:45 breakfast. It's like, it's a 2-hour block where we're eating breakfast. We get to do a little bit of free time, play, getting ready for the day. We've prioritized getting ready for the day. So, you know, combing our hair, brushing our teeth, and getting changed. Then at 9:30, we're lucky enough to be provided with some guidance from my kids' school in the way of like a circle time or a Zoom call. So we do that from 9:30 to 10. But you can employ your own sort of circle time where you're talking to your kids. And I'm going to speak mostly to like younger kids. But maybe during that time frame, you're saying, okay, let's look out the window, guys. What's the weather like today? Do you know what the date is? Do you know what season we're in? So it doesn't necessarily have to be something that I'm fortunate to have, which is that Zoom call, but self-directed. Then after that, we say it's like a work time. So it's an opportunity for both my kids to do some activities that exercise their mind. That's 1 hour. Then we have a very like flex time for lunch where we spend some time outside, wash our hands, come in, eat lunch. This is where it gets real, okay? I'm going to say this to everyone who's watching this, so maybe you're going to judge me. I don't know, and I don't care. So my daughter naps and my son doesn't. So from 1 to 2:30, while my daughter naps, my son watches TV.
Yep.
The whole time.
Yep.
Yeah, you know what I do? Take a nap, read a book, eat my lunch in peace.
Chat with Jen.
Right. Do whatever it is that I need to do to check myself. Because up until that point, you know, 1 o'clock, as you've heard, we're pretty kid focused. You know, although getting ready for the day also sets me up in the right mindset as well. But you need to schedule in that you time. So, and I sincerely hope that that is a possibility for many of you who are tuning into this, whatever that looks like for you. But for me, I'm doing the thing that works for us, which is screen time. And that's
There's no rules. I
there,
did not receive a rule book in the mail that you may not put your child on screen time for an hour and a half every day.
Right, exactly.
To jail you and take your child if you do
exactly.
that. There's no rules.
No rules. Exactly. And then after that, my daughter wakes up, and this is the time when we spend the most amount of time outside. So obviously, if it's pouring rain and I don't have like, you know, their umbrellas set up or something like that, we'll do like an experiment or something creative anyway together. But for the most part, from like 3 to like 5:30, we're outside. And outside is for us, in our yard, playing in our yard.
Yep.
And setting up, you know, obstacle courses, scavenger hunts, whatever I'm feeling that day. Or sometimes it's just me laying down on the grass and like the kids just literally running around me. And then I make supper, we eat dinner together as a family, then it's night. And then the sort of like unscheduled thing that thankfully we didn't have to change is that time after the kids go to bed where my husband and I can like be alone, talk about finances, talk about nothing, watch TV, go to sleep. I don't know, whatever it is that we want to do.
Yeah.
So that's sort of how I decided to approach the schedule. Now, the two things that I supplement that routine with are an activity sheet. So it's basically a sheet that I have, and we can share this if it's, you know, I could put a link to it or whatever the case is, of like 125 different things that you can do. So if you're not momming so hard that day and you're just like, I don't know, what are we doing?
Nothing.
I got nothing. hit up the list. That's what I say. We hit up the list. We pick something easy off the list, whatever. Yesterday we played Simon Says for 30 minutes. Was it very boring for me? Yes. Like, did I hate it? Yes. Did my kids love it? Yes.
Yeah.
But it was Simon Says for half an hour. Like, I'm not even kidding. It was actual hell. Anyways.
Real, baby, keeping it real.
Right. And then the other thing that we have supplemented to that, and I'm sure we're going to get a lot of love on this, is I had to set up a food schedule. So an eating schedule. These are the designated eating.
Dude, that should be an entirely other call.
Yeah. Because that got real. That just like,
that's going to bankrupt families.
Right. Honestly, the uninhibited access to our pantry, I didn't know where everything was going. It was mayhem. I had to put a baby lock on it. Anyways, so those are the two things that supplement our routine. So that's what I did. I picked blocks of time throughout the day and scheduled a similar type of activity in that block. Is it the same every day? No. But what is the same is those blocks of time. So I could look at the clock and be like, okay, what block are we in? Okay, we should be doing this. And then for me, prioritizing some time to myself, with my son on some screen time. I mean, that's what I had to do, and I stand by it.
So how are you finding, so you talked about like your son just having the change in behavior before all of that happened, right, with the better word, like the temper, losing.
Yeah, temper. No, that is the word.
Yeah. How are you finding that with?
That is where I know that if there wasn't a word for momming, I would have got it. So prior to this, just like flying by the seat of our pants, just like doing whatever, it was full blown. I mean, meltdown to the extreme over absolutely nothing. But again, when I say nothing, it is something, but on the surface, it's like, what is happening? Lasting 3 hours sometimes, just like you can't function that way. To now, we have also a little reward system in place too. My son responds really well to a reward-based, discipline's the wrong word, but you get what I'm like, a parenting, that's our parenting approach with him, is a reward.
I want to see these behaviors, and when I see these good behaviors.
And he responds very well to that, like very well. So I would employ you guys looking into whatever your kids respond well to sort of supplement this schedule so that you're rewarding, or whatever that word is for you, that good behavior. And we went back to full normal, like go upstairs to bed. No one's crying about pajamas. No one's crying about brushing their teeth. Just like back to the routine of nighttime, because everything now, this feels like their new normal. Mm-hmm. And it did take some work on our part, and not that I'm bagging on the moms who still want to wing it. If that's working for you and you're not seeing any negative behavior as a result of that, do you? Yeah. But for me, it was just that I was seeing such an energy shift, such a negative energy shift, that I knew that I needed to do something. And again, I'm pretty breezy, like as type A as I am, I knew that those tight incremented blocks and that tight schedule wasn't going to work for me, because we do like having a little bit of fluidity and a little bit of flexibility. So like I said, big time blocks, putting those similar activities within those same time blocks. And I've seen such a shift. My husband's happier because he's able to focus on what he needs to do full time, which gives us all a sense of security financially as well, because he's able to dedicate exactly what he needs to, his employer. And everyone is just getting through it. At the same time, but again, Well, I'm super excited that my kids' shift of energy is in the right direction now. You know, it's still taking some time for me to adjust to that and for me to like be fully on board that like this is what's happening, because I still have those moments, and we talked about this earlier, where you're just like, I got this is amazing, and then you're like, this is really
Nothing.
a garbage bag.
Yeah. And it's funny, like in our house, we've kind of taken the view of, because ours are older. So we have an almost 15, almost 13, and basically a 9-year-old next weekend.
Yeah.
So ours are significantly older. And so that comes with its own challenges, but also own benefits, bonuses, I guess.
Sure.
The being, they can pretty much do the work themselves. But we've also kind of looked at it as an opportunity for our family. So we've always considered the homeschooling thing because both of us work from home. We've always, found merit in homeschooling and being able to expose to different opportunities and situations that you wouldn't be able to when your kids are in school. Now, that being said, because we're all stuck at home, we're not finding any of those benefits, right? We can't take our kids on all the different kinds of field trips and learning experiences that we wanted. So that's definitely impacted my vision. But I think it's giving us the ability to teach them things that they wouldn't be taught in school. So we can teach them that when you sit down and focus, you can get all of your schoolwork done in 2 hours. You don't spend 6 hours at school, right? There is benefits to school. Don't get me wrong. That's not what I'm saying. The socialization, learning how to be within teens, there's definitely benefits to that, but also there's benefits to learning that when you sit down and focus, you can get your stuff done and be done, and then have the rest of the day to go outside on the trampoline or plant a garden or, FaceTime with your friends or those kinds of things. So given us the opportunity to find sloppy work habits that they've developed. And for me, that's a huge bonus because especially with our one child, she's incredibly smart. She does not apply herself in the slightest. And she's got a classroom that she's grade 7 been in for many, many years that does not, it is incredibly chaotic for a number of different reasons. And this time we're finding those sloppy work habits that she has learned, created. I don't really know what it is. All of that is she's doing some math online, and she'll read a question and the question will say, which of these 4 answers is correct? There may be more than one. Well, her the one day, and she would like test number 3, and then she's testing number 1, and then she's testing number 2, and then she submitted her answer and it was wrong and she was upset. And I was like, what kind of slop that? What? Okay, wait a minute. It's like reading. You start at the left and you test all the answers going towards the right. That happened because you just jumped all over the place. You didn't even test number 4. So finding things like this where it's like, whoa, this is actually a benefit to us because we can help correct those things with her while she's here, so that when she goes back to the learning environment at school, she will be better prepared to then take it to the next level. And some of these things I'm sure must certainly be holding her back and be frustrating. So we're looking at it as an opportunity to be able to help with those kinds of things, teach them some new lessons about life.
That's amazing.
And for our family, because, we're on a schedule, but I can't never not be on a schedule. So yes, we're on a schedule in that, like, their schoolwork has to start at 10. My husband and I then get to work from 10 till 12 uninterrupted. They're doing their own thing. They're also learning how to work with each other and help each other, which is to me an awesome thing, because that's a life skill for, that translates into many different things. Lunch, like you, we take an extended period of time to have lunch together, have fun, joke, whatever. If they want to watch a little TV in that time, that's great. And then in the afternoon, so my husband and I can get another hour of work in, we require them to go outside. So from 1 till 2, they're gone. They're outside on the trampoline, digging in the dirt, playing in the shed. I don't care what they're doing. They're outside in our backyard, which thankfully a field behind it. So there's lots of room for them to run around and play. And then in the rest of the afternoon, we're doing things together, whether it be, teaching them how to fix things around the house, or playing board games together, or like watching a movie on, something. Well, like Easter's coming up. So for us, Easter is right around here. So we might be watching an Easter movie together, or, just any number of things that keep us occupied so that we're not down and bored and fighting, because
that idle time.
The fighting thing, right? Like it's just about fighting about anything and everything. So it's kind of how it's been in our house, and we're just really using it as an opportunity to implement those life skills, I guess, right? Like the buckle down, sit down, be quiet, do your work. That's a necessary skill our children need for life. There are times when they are going to have to sit down, be quiet, and do what they're told.
Yep, absolutely.
And I'm not sure that they're always going to get that in school. So this is a great opportunity for us to be able to like instill that in them and practice that over and over and over. So
for sure,
how we're looking at it.
What I like about that too is that I feel, and moms, I'm sure you're going to be like raising your hands for this one. The amount socially on social media, the amount of pressure that is being put on us as caregivers at this time to be full-time everything, full-time teacher, full-time friend, full-time parent, full-time chef, full-time, like just the amount of hats that you have to wear for a new parent, especially. Like you're a seasoned mom, I feel like I settled nicely into my second, and I feel like I'm on that track as well. But for new parents, I can't even imagine what you're feeling right now. And I hope if the one thing you get out of this chat and joining us for this chat is that it doesn't have to be everything that you see online every hour of every day, every 15
Please don't.
minutes every day.
Please don't.
You will just go nuts.
Yeah.
What I really truly hope that parents who are feeling the enormous pressure of having to be every person to their kids right now and to their spouses right now, give yourself I was going to swear.
I saw the F word coming. I was like, it's coming out.
Cut yourself some slack.
Yeah.
Because it's not.
Because the thing is, at the end of this, it's temporary.
It is temporary.
The rest of our lives, this isn't the rest of their lives. Yeah. You're doing this for the now.
Right, exactly.
Just to get by for the now.
Right. So just cut yourself some
practices into place for life.
And again, I'll bring it back to, if you're not seeing any negative behaviors as a result of this, and like however you want to utilize this opportunity, right? I love, Jen, what you were saying about wanting to learn more about your kids, about wanting to teach them different kinds of skills being in this environment. Goals. I love that. My kids are not at that age where they're just looking to me for guidance right now, and I'm doing the best that I can to guide them so that we have some semblance of a routine and some structure so that they're not having lash outs at nighttime. That's where I'm at. Yeah. And so you kind of have to, if you're trying to look at what's a jumping off point, well, assess what your dynamic is right now. Take the temperature of your household right now. Write it down. Yeah. Get a pen, get a piece of paper, write down every person's name in your house and be like, okay, how were they before and how are they now, and is it different? And if you're seeing a big swing in that change in their personalities and in their day-to-day feelings, then maybe there's something that you need to change. And what that looks like does not have to be what you see on Instagram and social and Facebook, where you're micromanaging every 15-minute increment of the day, because you will go crazy. Yeah. You will go crazy.
Or it could be the opposite, in that they need some more structure.
Right.
And figure out what that looks like.
With that balance, right?
Temporarily. Again, it's not for the rest of your life.
Exactly. But I would just say, if you're looking for a jumping off point, sort of what Jen and I clearly did, which is take the temperature of your home, see what you want to focus on and build out your routine or your schedule, whatever you want to call it, based on that.
Yeah.
And do it for what works for you. Put your phone down and just get into the moment of the temperature of your home in its current state. And if nothing needs to change, amazing. That's great. But if something does need to change, there are ways to approach that won't make you nuts.
Yeah. There's so much. Like, this is such a big topic. As you're talking, I'm just like thinking of, like, even with older kids, speaking of the temperature of the home, their friends.
Yes.
The temperature of the home, can't they? I know my almost 13 and almost 15-year-old, if we watch the friends that they're talking to, if those friends are having a bad day because, things aren't working out in their own home, that impacts the temperature of the relationship. So then also a great learning tool where we just did it with our 13-year-old. We said, you know what? You need to take a break from your phone for a week.
Yeah.
Things you and your friends are fighting about are nonsense. Do you know why you're fighting about them? Because everybody's hot, everybody's scared, everybody's worried, everybody's the math and the English and the grocery shopping and the virus and the hand washing and the sleep. Like, it's all hot. What happens in real life when things get hot? And as a mom, I've had to show them this recently, is you need to take a break. So, for instance, I have never, in the course of being a woman, a mom, a person, removed myself from situations without explanation. But I'm realizing that when this chaos hits, it is not in their best interest or my best interest to stay in a situation and offer an explanation if it means it might make the situation worse. So last week, for instance, the house was hot. Hot because they were missing their friends. We were missing our friends. We were missing church. Can't go grocery shopping. Oh my gosh, we have to go to work. And, I want to stay up late because the time allows for that. But then, wake up in the morning and my body doesn't feel good, and teaching them to listen to their bodies. And I got to the point one day where I was like, I'm done. I don't have words. I don't have a look to give you. Don't touch me. I don't want to touch me. I don't want to touch you. I was full. I looked at them and I said, I love you. I'll see you tomorrow. And my husband and I have had this conversation where this happened once before. I'm out. I locked myself in my bedroom, got my pajamas on, got my TV ready, and that was it. Because if I stayed in that situation, it wouldn't have been better for anybody. I wouldn't have fixed myself. They would have left being much more hurt because what is wrong with mom? Why is she behaving like this? Why is she acting like this? And that taking care of ourselves piece and figuring out how to maneuver all of this matters. And that's where, exactly like what we talked about before, there's no rules.
Right. Exactly. You just got to make it happen. You do, because you'll get full. You said that, and that really resonated with me.
Beyond full, like puking full.
You're
puking full.
Yes, I get that. We have a word in our home that we use: pineapple. That's our word. That's our word to describe our fullness.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna just call pineapple right now. Later. That's it. The kids laugh at us, mostly Lucas. Stella doesn't really know, but Lucas just laughs. Pineapple. Oh, Daddy, Mommy said pineapple.
Yeah. We'll see her later.
Yeah, we'll see her in a bit.
Yeah.
But just a cue that you need to give yourself and give your family, and just give them that cue.
Yeah. I love that tip, though, writing down the temperature of.
Yes. If you need a jumping off point, that's where I suggest you start.
Yeah, totally.
That's where I suggest you start. Right. Even, so if it looks like writing down everybody's name in your household and just talking about their feelings and their attitudes prior to the pandemic and then post, And just what does that look like? Is it the same? Is it better? Is it worse? You know, because a lot of people, and we touched on this earlier, a lot of people, you can have that. Sorry. A lot of people, their homes might have improved not having to have this conversation of going to school every morning.
Yeah, for sure.
You, amazing. I'm
and there is a thing called, if we can be real here, there is a thing called free schooling that you can do with your kids that has nothing to do with routine. There's no logging on to apps every day and, doing math for 30 minutes. Is a thing called free schooling that is legal to do with your children. It's all related to just every day.
Like maybe I'm free schooling and I don't even know.
Yeah.
That's great. I love that.
Yep.
We pretty much turned everything into gym time, a science experiment, relating to each other. Like, I like that.
Just the being aware that they still need to learn, but there's more than sitting down at a computer to get the learning done. Right. They can learn math skills when you're outside counting acorns or rocks or seeds to plant.
Right. I love it.
Write a letter to grandma and learn grammar and all of these kinds of other things that they're doing, sharing experiences, presentation, all of those kinds of things they need. They can learn that through natural things that we're doing. I think basis. I'm not a free schooling professional. Mm-hmm. I have a friend who has done it, so I know a little bit about it, but there is merit to that also. And I think that's kind of like where the play-based learning comes from.
And I think too, like just that whole idea of having options is hopefully something that's going to resonate with everyone, to say, again, it doesn't have to look like what you're seeing on your socials. Mm-hmm. It can look like whatever works for you.
And can we talk about social a little bit too? Like, there's nothing wrong. I don't know. Am I the only one who has started to comment on people's posts and then I'm like, nope, I'm out. See ya. I'm not, because I'm not engaging in that. There's no positive benefit to do that. Am I the only one who's been doing that?
Yeah.
Like, go to comment and then you're like, nope, not worth it.
Forget it. Just, what, whatever. You know what I will do? I will comment on people who give me inspiration to be better. Like, for example, I had a gentleman who I was a colleague with in my banking time. There you go. Who became a chef. So he left the bank to become a chef. And I messaged him because he's been posting these beautiful dinners that he's making every day with pantry staples.
Mm.
Yeah. So I messaged him and I said, I know it's been a while since we talked, and I don't know if you need to hear this or not, but please keep doing what you're doing because I'm getting inspiration. And so sometimes, I said this the other day, actually. So I do post the activities that I do with my kids on my social media. And I asked somebody how that's perceived. Like, do you think it seems like a little, like, am I not being real enough? Because I'll post a whole video of Lucas watching iPad for an hour. I don't care.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. But at the same time, I thought, well, maybe somebody else needs some inspiration. I don't know. So I guess it's just like, if you are finding inspiration in all of the stuff that's out there about, schedules and homeschooling and really going hard in that direction, cool. But if it's overwhelming you, that's probably the majority of the feeling that's out there. So you're not alone in feeling that.
No. I think there's a lot of dictation happening on social media. That's for me where I'm like people will be dictating what people should be doing during
That's what I can't stand.
My healer thing is like, you don't get to say that. You don't get to judge people. Right. You don't know. And then I'm like,
right. Exactly.
Walk away. No benefit to commenting.
So, and if you're on the other side of that and you're posting about the things that you're doing, and again, in my case, I'm hoping to be inspirational because I've messaged many people who I'm engaging with socially right now to say thank you for posting that. I really needed to see that. That gave me a great idea for this, or like whatever. Yeah. Yes, that negativity doesn't have to surround it, but at the other, when that dictating happens, where it's like, well, like, because we have to do this mandatory number of math, like, per day. We should really be doing blah, 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 blah. And it's like, well, Becky, no one gives a S. Go home.
If that, my line really is, if that's what works for you, then do that.
Right. But this whole dynamic of, dictating parents on how they're supposed to be engaging with their kids right now, that's a no from me.
Yeah.
You should
for something that's temporary. Like, this is not like we're setting ourselves up to live like this.
Right.
Our lives. It's legit.
Exactly.
Temporary.
That time frame. I talked about this earlier. Going day by day wasn't working for me. It was causing me to have anxiety. It was causing me to fill up too quickly. Yeah. So setting a long-term, when I say long-term, I meant like more than one day out, where you're like, okay, for the next 3 weeks, it's going to be this. For the next 4 weeks, it's going to be this, or whatever that time frame is. That should go along with when you're taking the temperature of your home to say, okay, how long is something like this sustainable, right? Yeah. And that's the other word. What is sustainable? Mm-hmm. You can go ahead and write yourself the most beautiful, elaborate schedule of life.
We've seen them, haven't we? We've seen them on social.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we have. If those schedules are not sustainable, what are you doing? You're setting yourself up for failure. Yeah. And is that fair?
And they can be sustainable for the people that are doing them. Maybe that is those families.
Oh, yeah. People will look at my schedule and be like, nuts. I get that. No, I get that.
Yeah.
But it's sustainable for me.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that is why you really need to put the phone down and, close the laptop, go pen to paper, and just say, what is happening with everyone's feelings right now, and what do we need to do to change it? Yeah. And hopefully it's your blank page, and it's like, well, now we can start correcting behaviors or improving on behaviors, and really taking time to learn about yourselves and the members of your family.
Yeah. Totally agree.
Yeah.
Did we miss anything?
I don't know.
We hit all the things. I mean, the snacking. We didn't get into the snacking, but oh my gosh, I just said to my husband yesterday, these kids are going to bankrupt me. Literally, and right or wrong, I mean, I don't know what other people spend on groceries, but I spend usually about $600 a month on groceries.
Yeah. Yep.
Divided up throughout the month, right? And I legitimately just went grocery shopping weeks ago and spent $250, and then I had to go out again yesterday. It was like $300. I was like, dude, we're not even halfway through the month yet. Like, and thankfully, I am thankful. I'm thankful that my kids love vegetables. So, I mean, that is the majority of the budget. I get that. Like, I don't just buy one bag of carrots. I buy 4 because
Exactly. That's how we're rolling.
They're going to bankrupt me. And why are they eating more? Which then turns into a whole other learning thing of, okay, but now we have to say to them, right? Like, they didn't eat like this in school before. That's fine. One of the things we need to know about life is intake must meet outtake. Right? That's a legitimate lesson. So if we are intaking more things, then we need to move our body more, because the 2 20-minute blocks at school that they typically move in, that is fine for what they're consuming there. If they're consuming more here, we need to be moving more, which is a whole other topic and lesson.
And with the food thing, I had concept. There was 2 roads that I could go down, and I wasn't sure what I wasn't sure what was sustainable for me. So the 2 roads that I had were preparing their snacks, again, because I have littler kids, preparing their snack boxes at the beginning of the day and saying, this is what you have.
Yeah.
Or setting up a schedule where it's like, well, 10:30 is like 7:30 is breakfast, 10:30 snack, 12:30 lunch, 3:30 snack, 6 o'clock dinner.
Yeah.
And I thought that schedule is sustainable. There's no way that I'm interrupting coffee time in the morning to make snack boxes, although it looks beautiful on the gram. Can't do it.
Yeah.
Can't do it. I would have loved to do it. If you could do it, amazing. That's a road you can take.
Can't. That does not work in my house. We even tried having the conversation of like, you're not hungry, you're bored. But the thing, when they're just eating carrots because...
But also the thing with that too is, for me, with the younger kids, I don't want to have that argument with you at 2:00 when your snack box is done and you're still hungry. No thanks.
Yeah, it's one of those, but it's also, and again, that brings it back to like what I said before about teaching them life lessons. This is an important thing for them to learn and understand, because
regulating themselves.
Work from home. This is our day in, day out, right? We have access to those food cupboards whenever we want. And it's moderation, it's self-moderation. Right. So kids who've never had to do that before, absolutely, this is a great time for us to be teaching them those things. Yes, I'm going to let you snack the way you want to snack for the first couple of weeks, but then we really need to start teaching ourselves those conversations of, are you really hungry?
Right.
Do you need to drink water? Did you have enough to eat for breakfast? Like, right. All those life.
Exactly. And when they're going to a secular school, they get that regulation automatically. It's ingrained in the schedule of being in a secular school. So that's a whole learning process that we're going through right now as parents. And it sucks.
Yeah, it is. Like, there's just so much upon so
food can be a whole other thing. We talked the food can be
it totally could be. The food thing could be a whole other thing. But listen, we're going to be too poor to talk about that because they're going to eat us out of house and home. So
right. Yes.
Yeah. Pretty much. Okay, well, this was awesome, Victoria. Thank you for chatting with us today. Guys, I hope you got some tips and tricks, or at the very least, like, sometimes a friend of mine says, sometimes people just need permission to, right? To do what? This is your permission to step back or step in.
Yes. Look at me. Any one of my close friends know, I'm going to get so close to the camera here. Any one of my close friends knows this. I give you permission. Are you looking for someone to give you permission? I give you permission. Give yourself permission. Being grateful, practicing gratitude, and giving yourself permission will set your soul free.
It will.
Honestly.
It will.
So if you need it, I hope this gave you permission. Yeah, Jen.
Yep. We give you permission.
If you needed that,
you need into that. Yeah.
You know.
Or step back.
Right.
If you're finding it hot, here's your permission to step back.
Yeah. If you need to lean in, lean in. If you need to step back, step back.
You got it.
You don't. Yeah.
I know we could keep
going. You need to hear that from us, but
I know. That's a whole other thing, right? We'll get into that another time. Okay, awesome, guys. Hopefully you found this useful and you got a few laughs and some tips, or permission, or whatever you needed.
Whatever you needed, and
just do our thing.
Yeah, I'll be on the post. I'll be checking in on comments and things like that. So if you, Jen, you could also leave my contact information if you guys want to just chat, and
Sounds good. Awesome. Thanks for joining me today, Mami. We'll see you guys next week. Have a great week. Salsa, baby.